We are live. We are live. What's going on, everyone? How's it going? Richard, of course. So I'm trying something a little bit new. I'm actually trying to do live streams on my YouTube and Facebook at the same time. I'm giving you inside secrets right now. I got a camera set up right here and right here. It's pretty cool. I wish I could show you if I had a mirror, but I don't. I have a mirror here, but not facing here. Anyway, I don't know. I guess I do a lot of Facebook Lives, and then I want to get into YouTube as well. So that's what I'm doing right now, and it's really cool that my YouTube audience and Facebook audiences are two very different audiences. There is a little bit of overlap, but it's also very different. Facebook is a lot of more local friends, if anything. And of course, I have entrepreneur friends and speaker friends that live all over the place, family as well. While YouTube is people from all over the world who, come across my videos through, maybe it was like a video game addiction video or, a high school motivation video. Those are the popular ones. Or you saw me speak at a certain school. So that's, I guess, what's going on right now. So I guess in a way, I just wanted to, right now I'm creating Facebook Lives and YouTube Live because I want to, I guess, get back in the flow of making more videos and sharing myself. It is a little weird. I'll play around with this. It's weird doing like two at the same time, but I do see both comments for, so whichever platform you're on, I will see your comments on. So I guess the conversation today is what makes you happy. And the thought for me about happiness came from, that's the emotion I'm feeling right now. So I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling joyful, content, I feel free today. It's impossible to attain pure happiness. That was let's see, Dan says that. Interesting. That's a great thought. We could talk about that. Let's see, Zubaida, did you ever experience anxiety due to PTSD? PTSD? I can't never say I really had crazy PTSD. I don't have any stories around that, so I can't say much around that. Let's see, I have always liked your plants and trees in the background. Thanks, Ben, appreciate that. So let's start with that question, Dan. You said it's impossible to attain pure happiness. So is it impossible to obtain pure happiness? That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. I wish I could say that it is possible. In a way, I feel like this is a trick question. So yes, I agree. Life does have its ups and downs. I went to this 10-day meditation retreat out in the middle of the desert. This is, I don't know, like 2 years ago. And for 10 days straight, there's about 50 people there. 50 of us, we literally sat there, no cell phones, no talking. There's no eating meat either. And it was just like a very calm experience. And there's no eye contact. You don't talk to anyone. You don't communicate with anyone. You're around people, but you don't interact with them. And the purpose is for 10 days straight, you just focus on yourself and you focus on just, I guess, being, just having the experience, whatever experiences you have, you just experience them. And kind of what I learned, I learned a lot. I made a YouTube video about this, but what I learned through this process was, how do I say this? The more relevant point was that what I realized is that people who are kind of actualized, people who meditate and they focus and they just sit there and they reach enlightenment. I don't know if it's necessarily that they're happy. I think the word is more they have let go. They have let go of expectations of I need to be happy or I need to have a certain thing. So I think when we let go of that expectation, based off what I'm learning from the whole enlightenment theory is when we let go of the expectation to need to be happy, I think in a way we are at peace, which to me almost means that we're happy. So that's my understanding of it. But for now, being a regular everyday human being, which I am a very regular everyday human being, I think in obtaining pure happiness or absolute happiness is a very, very tall task. And I think the best that we can do is really just do the best that we can to be happy. Yes, we absolutely do have ups and downs. Let's see. So I will read your... Oh, am I going to... Yeah, I'll dive into these comments. Let's see. Zubaida. Let's see. Do you think it's a good idea to use the counseling services provided by the university you are going to, especially if you can't afford an actual therapist? Why not? You know, why not use counseling services if they're available to you, included in your tuitions and things like that? I think that's a great idea. It never hurts to utilize all the resources that we have. So if we're going through a certain challenge, whether it's with like academics, with home life, or it could be anything, you know, anxiety, depression, why not get the support that we need? We might as well do it. I remember when I was in high school, I was really afraid to go to the counselor, and but I was burnt out, overwhelmed. I made a video about this. I don't know if you saw that one. But what I realized was that pretty much my teacher called me out of class to go to the counselor, and I was super embarrassed. You know, it was in the middle of class, and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to do this. Like, this is people who go to counselors are for people who are whatever, emotionally unstable, or, you know, putting whatever label it is. But the thing is, you know, we all go through challenges, and honestly, what I find is I have a lot of friends who are successful in doing what they're doing, and a lot of them, even though they're very successful, they still go to therapists. They still go to therapists every single week because everyone's dealing with stuff. So that's, how do I say this? Sometimes counseling or therapy or like these professionals create a space for us to kind of open up and address certain challenges that we have. So I think that's the benefit of, if you have those services available, why not? Of course, you know, there's that, like, I don't know if I should go or not. So I would just say, just go for it. You know, if you feel like you could, it would be of value to you, if it'll support you, might as well try it. It doesn't hurt to try it. So that's what I have to say with that. Let's see. Johnny Leg, nice to see you on YouTube again. Thanks, man. Zubaida, I'm glad. So you went to counseling and it helped a lot. That's awesome. Great. So, what else? Oh, so I want to go back to talking about happiness. You know, what makes us happy? What? No, your video? Oh, shoot, I missed that. Hold on one second. I did. Oh, what? You watched my video. Got it. Sweet. Awesome. Awesome. Great. So, what? That's hilarious. I'm sorry. I just realized, I'm like, how come no one's watching on my Facebook Live? It's because, I mean, right now it's being posted to my page, which I don't want it to be posting on my page, my like speaker page, but that's okay. So, whatever. I'm focusing on YouTube right now because there's people live on their speaker page. I mean, it's not as connected to my personal page, but whatever. Anyway, happiness. What brings happiness? For me, happiness is I don't know how to describe it. It's like it's a feeling, it's emotion, and currently what brings me happiness is, for me personally, is being able to, I guess, be of service, and any moments where I am in alignment with myself. So I believe what makes us happy is doing things, obviously, that make us feel good, but more specifically, doing things that are in alignment to what we're all about, you know, what we enjoy. I think there is kind of like a short-term happiness and a long-term happiness. These are not concrete ideas. These are kind of a flow of ideas. I believe we can get happiness by doing things like eating, you know, like, ooh, I'm hungry, let's eat fries and a cheeseburger, you know, like that will bring temporary happiness, but long term, are you going to feel good about that? I don't know, but your body probably won't appreciate that if you keep doing that, you know, 3 meals a day times the rest of your life. But that'll bring temporary happiness. Well, I think a higher level of happiness, which is a little bit more challenging for many of us, is doing things that are in alignment of what we want. So I'm going to do a little example like exercise. You know, not everyone enjoys exercise. I don't necessarily enjoy exercise. I mean, I do sometimes, like playing basketball and things like that, but I don't. It's not like I wake up in the morning, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go exercise. I've had moments in my life like that, but it's not always like that. So, with goodness, with that being said, happiness. I'm not saying doing things that you don't like will bring absolute happiness or whatever it is, but how do you say this? Hold up, give me a second. I'm gonna do something right now. So YouTube peoples, my friends. I am literally I'm looking at your camera but not the Facebook one. I feel a little awkward trying to do 2 Facebook lives at the same time. If you're just hopping on, I was trying to play around with doing YouTube and Facebook at the same time. I accidentally was recording on my Richard Quo speaker page, like my fan page. So I mean, it's again like there's not a lot of traffic towards that. So my personal page, people do hop on and interact with me, but not necessarily this one. So I'm gonna shut this one off. Boom, canceled. And I'm sorry. Well, too late. They wouldn't know. I already stopped it. But hold on. Let me. As I'm talking to you, what I'm doing is I'm just gonna delete that Facebook Live because that's okay. Yeah, it's weird. I will, if I do Facebook Lives, I think I'm just gonna do one platform at a time. I'll play around with it, but anyway, I just deleted it. So, yay, full attention on YouTube right now, all of you. Okay, cool. So, where do I want to go? Happiness. So, what brings me happiness is being aligned with, you know, just my purpose and what I do. So right now I feel pretty good, happy. I worked out in the morning. I made a commitment with one of my friends yesterday that we would work out every single day from now until the end of the year. And it feels good that I started actually doing it. You know, I didn't want to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, but I woke up at 4 a.m. in the morning because I knew if I didn't do it in the morning, I would get lazy and then not do it later on, or I would make excuses or whatever. It would be more difficult. So, yeah, what makes me happy is kind of doing things that are positive. And number 2, I spoke at in Arizona yesterday at Yuma, so that was really fun, and I totally enjoyed that. And then the next day, today, I went to go mentor middle school students in a school in Los Angeles. You know, and for me, that brings me joy because it's aligned with what I want to do. I want to support younger, teens and young adults to build up their self-esteem, to get past their insecurities. And of course, doing Facebook Lives, YouTube Lives, we'll call them that, I enjoy doing because I get to connect with you. And I'm going to take a pause and, dive into these. Sorry, I have not been interacting. I've been talking way too much. So I see your questions, and I'm going to dive into it right now. I will get to all your questions, by the way. So if please hold on. I see like 5 different questions right now. So I will do one at a time. Do you think happiness is just a feeling? Is happiness just a feeling? I want to say yes. I think happiness is just an emotion. Funny enough, the mentorship workshop today, our theme was emotions. And yes, I believe happiness is essentially just emotion. It's a feeling. And as human beings, I think it's important to recognize that we get to honor our feelings. As human beings, we all experience the full spectrum of emotions: depression, happiness, sadness, joy, anger, frustration, confusion, loneliness, all of these emotions. All of us as human beings experience them all. Just some of us, at different levels. Maybe some of us might feel more lonely. That's more of a dominant factor versus some other people who might feel more confident or happy. And that's okay. It's okay to feel whatever emotion you're feeling. I think as human beings, that's what we are. We got to give ourselves permission to just feel. So that's what I learned in today's workshop. So that was really cool. All right. Let's see. Do you ever think of sadness being just as important as happiness? Johnny, that's a great question. I'm gonna give you my opinion. You know, I'm not like a emotions expert. You know, I think emotions, honestly, this is all human opinion. What do you want to make of it? Is sadness as important as being happy? Oh, that's a good question. I don't have a solid, like, you know, this is my answer and I stand by it. But if I were to use my gut feeling, I feel like sadness is as important as happiness, and here's my reason why. You know, people can disagree with me and I'll honor that. But my reason why sadness is as important as happiness is because I feel like without our lows, we wouldn't be able to see our highs. You know, our lows give us perspective of our highs. And I think it's our challenges that we go through that allow us to be like, shoot, I really appreciate all the good moments I have in my life. Because, you know, it's interesting. I think about people who are struggling. You know, I definitely do have hardships in my life, but my ideal struggling person is someone who is in poverty, someone who you know, can't even afford a phone or a computer to be watching this YouTube live. They're struggling to, you know, to find their next meal and all these different things. However, they're still happy. They're still grateful for what they have. You know, and how do I say this? I don't think this is the best example, but I don't know. I guess for me, just in general, sadness, like, it gives me perspective of what happiness is and why happiness is so great, because we have highs and lows. So that's my thought on that. Okay. Can you obtain happiness with being in a relationship? I believe happiness doesn't come from a relationship. Okay, hold on. Two parts to this one. First of all, yes, you can find happiness in a relationship. I don't believe you should be seeking a relationship to fulfill your need of happiness. Oh, goodness, this is a tricky one. Okay, so in short, I believe in terms of happiness, what we get to do is focus on finding happiness within ourselves. So, Zubaida, like, you get to look at finding happiness within yourself. What makes you genuinely happy? And I believe a partner, a relationship, is there to kind of exemplify, or, you know, like, increase that, like, boost up that, like, I don't know. Shoot, I need to start over. I believe a relationship is, you know, one independent person plus another independent person, or one whole plus one whole, getting together to share awesome experiences and kind of connect with each other to create a more fruitful and even happier life together. I do believe there are cases where, you know, we get like a dependent person and another dependent person coming together, and somehow it does work out. You know, they're both kind of looking for happiness in another person, and if it works out, it works out. So that's great. I'm in the personal belief is, for me personally, if I get into a relationship, I want to be at a place, and again, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. So if I get into a relationship, I already know that I'm going to be somewhat screwed up still, because I'm still working on myself, and I feel like I always will be working on myself. But I'm going to come into a relationship doing my best to be an independent party, where I'm not depending on the other person to be happy. I'm depending on myself. You know, I'm depending on myself to trust myself and understand what makes me happy. Connecting and helping middle school, high school students, you know, young adults. Knowing that what makes me happy is giving back or going on vacations, traveling by myself, things like that. And then I take all of what makes me happy, then I bring it with me to this relationship with this other person, and I'm like, hey, this is what makes me happy. What makes you happy? Like, oh, these are things that make me happy. And they're like, oh, sweet, we have these in common. Let's hang out and do these similar things together. Or, I never thought about that. Why don't we try that? So I think that's kind of what a relationship is. That's kind of my take on whatchamacallit, on happiness in relationships. Let's see. Just being, hey, good to see you on. Yes, 2 days in a row. You are here 2 days in a row, and so am I. What is awesome? Let's see. How was LA? Double player. Which school? Which school were you at? I'd like to know that one. Just being, thanks for asking about how LA was. LA was great today. So let me fill you in. I guess I'll fill you in a little bit more. So today I went to LA to mentor middle school boys at Lenox Middle School, which is by LAX, the Los Angeles, International Airport, and it was great. I was there for the full day. Let's see, I left home at like 5:45 in the morning or something, about 6 a.m. in the morning. Drove up to LA from Orange County, which is about an hour drive, and I just spent the whole day kind of a total of about 150 boys, but we break them. There's about 20 different mentors there, so we break them up. I didn't do the math exactly, but each of my group, I had 2 sessions. Each group had about 6 boys each. So I gotta just spend the day, hang out with them, do various like activities. We play like capture the flag. We did like little fun activities where they had to work as a team together, and I think for me the best part of it was being able to just connect and begin to open up. A lot of these teens, maybe some of them are on. I don't know. Some people found me on YouTube. So for me, if you didn't know this, you go to school. These are teens who are in a somewhat underprivileged area, and for them, I guess something that's really important. This is like a little bit behind the scenes of the Mentor, which is the organization that I'm a part of, is that a lot of boys, what they really need is they need an open space. They need a open space to kind of share their feelings and thoughts and express themselves, because a lot of times we as young people don't have that space. We can't share our feelings with our family, or we don't feel safe to share our feelings with our friends or open up completely. A lot of times we have challenges we're going through, but we don't have people to talk to, and that's why I create these videos. That's why I've created this community, is so we can kind of open up and share and talk about our challenges. So that's why I do what I do. So that's what I got there. All right, cool. So yeah, there we go. Just being, by the way, I saw your TED Talk about the awkwardness. That was funny and helpful, man. Good job. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Okay. Man, this is... All right. I guess for me, this this YouTube live it's decent. I didn't fully prepare in terms of really thinking about what the main point I wanted to hit on today. Usually when I make a Facebook live or any kind of live video or any video, I kind of sit down and think about what's my main message that I want to give. But for this one, I felt like, what time is it? Oh, it's 9 o'clock right now. I'm like, you know what? I just want to do a YouTube live because I wanted to continue to connect with all of you. And while I have the time right now, I might as well just do it, because I know sometimes my schedule gets kind of busy and stuff like that. So yeah, this is just another opportunity. Moving forward, my hope and my intention of when I make YouTube live videos is I'll have a topic, and just like this, what makes us happy, or what makes you happy, and I hope to have a little bit more prepared, so it's like it flows a little bit better. I think it's a little back and forth, a little bit more than usual, which can be like long and drag on for a little bit. So that's what I have there. Okay, what's up? Okay, what if Danny says, what if you've lost everybody you value and you don't see the use of being happy anymore? You've lost everything, everybody you value, and you don't see the use of being happy anymore. Let's see. That's this is really interesting. So, there was a situation. I'm not going to use any names here, but there was a situation where there was a boy who, this is like a story that I heard where this boy decided that he did not want to ever show happiness anymore because he didn't want other people to take his happiness away from him. And when I heard this story, I'm like, I get it. I get it. You don't want to show happiness because you don't want people to take that happiness away from you. You don't want to get robbed. Like, you don't want to put so much effort into being happy and then just have it taken away from you. Like, what's the point? If I'm not going to be happy, if I'm not, like, what is the point? And I think, to me, my heart hurts when I hear that, because it's like, that sucks. Like, nobody should have this fear that if they're happy, that happiness will be taken away from them. And that includes you too, Dan. The point of happiness, hold on, I'm going to backtrack. As human beings, we all go through emotions, highs and lows. We all go through seasons. Sometimes our seasons last longer than others. Sometimes they last for a few months or a few years, or maybe half our lifetime or majority of our lifetime. I have, there's people I know who struggle, their whole entire life. It's a lot of negativity and it's constantly struggling. And they're like, dude, what is the point of life? Like, why am I even here? And this is tough. It's like, life is what we make of it, and you might see me right now. I'm decently happy. I am happy in this moment. And sometimes I almost feel bad for being happy while other people are struggling being sad. But I think what I get to remind myself is, just because other people are sad, it doesn't mean that should take away my happiness. I believe we should continue being happy while acknowledging other people's sadness and, empathize. Like, that's okay. So what is the point? Dan, back to your question. By the way, if you just commented, I'll read them and answer your questions in a second. So Dan, what is the point? So if you lost everyone, and I don't know in what sense you've lost everyone, Dan. Is that physically, like, did people pass away, or did you lose people? Like, did you lose friends because you had some sort of disagreement? If you've lost, whether you've lost family or if you've lost friends, what I could say is, I don't know how to say this. Like, the beautiful thing about life, the beautiful thing about life is that there's always more people, more awesome, caring people out there. And sometimes we don't see that. Sometimes we close ourselves off to the world because we're afraid of being hurt again. And we end up, whatever it is, locking ourselves in a room. I'm speaking from personal experience, by the way. Closing ourselves off, not communicating with anyone, and continuing to have this mindset of, you know what, I just feel sad. Like, what's the point? This is too hard. I'm never going to be truly happy. So my request of you, Dan, is that, you just, how do I say this? My request of you is, I'm not going to say that whole cheesy, like, stay positive. No, it's be open to the possibility that your life can change. And I really, not only do I believe it, I know it. I know that sadness, it's a phase, it's a season. And sure, it might stick with you for a long time, and that's okay. But what I know is all storms will pass. Every single storm will pass. That means if you got one of those gray clouds hanging over you and you're feeling sad and, whatever it is, maybe you're feeling lonely, that those feelings will be there, but then they'll disappear. They'll come and they'll go. So hang in there and just know that there are caring people out there. And, I always do my best to support with whatever I have. And I encourage you to just keep finding those people that you can really connect with. If your family's not quite there, then find some friends. And trust me, the world is a big place, and I get it. It's not always easy to find those people. I get it. Like, let's say if your family sucks and or they're just not there for whatever reason, either physically there or emotionally there, or whatever it is, mentally there, it doesn't matter. And then you go to school, and everyone at school seems pretty mean, or you just can't connect with them. Do know there's people out there, and do know that even people in your school, if you're going to school, I get the sense that you're going to school. If you're going to school, that your mindset creates a little bit of a reality for you. This reality that, oh, everyone is so mean, or no one cares. I feel like people do care. It's just part of it is our realities, our own personal thoughts get in the way of us seeing how people care. And number two, you're not the only one struggling with this. There are so many people with that kind of like a similar mindset, probably at your school, being like, man, no one else cares. Like, what's the point, So naturally, we don't act nice to people. We might act a little bit harsh, or be like, oh, cool, whatever. And that turns people away. And then that other person who's also feeling sad and everyone hates them, they see you and they're like, oh, what's his problem? Like, why is he being mad at me? Everyone's so mean, So it becomes a little bit of a cycle. But the thing is, when we start opening up about our challenges, I think that's kind of when we were able to see that, oh shoot, I'm not the only one going through this challenge, I thought you were whatever we'll call it, like a dick. You were such a mean person, but no, you're not a mean person. You just were going through challenges, and you had a certain perspective, and there's misunderstanding. So I feel like I talked a little bit too long, but hopefully that made a little bit of sense. Okay, let's see. Where are we at? We are. I want to do what I want to do, but afraid of other people's judgment. Daisy. Yeah, you could Daisy, you could watch my TED Talk about embracing awkwardness. It's part of it is just pretty much the summary of it is I think we all are afraid of judgment, and the only way to fully be ourselves is to literally, it sounds cheesy, but it's to embrace ourselves and have the courage to just be ourselves and be judged by other people. Because eventually, I'll share some quick stories with you about this, but eventually once we embrace ourselves and just like, you know what, this is me, and I'm going to be me. I know people might not quote unquote like it, but I'm just going to be me because that's what makes me feel comfortable, and that feels right to me. So quick stories. Let's see. Number one is, for those of you who don't know, I am a youth inspirational speaker. So I go to schools and I present my story and share a message. And that is what I do full time as my profession for 3 years, 4 years, pretty much since I ever got started. My mom's like, "You're doing what? What are you doing, Richard?" Like, no, like go get a real job, go get something that's going to pay the bills. And she would constantly disagree with me. But I knew in my heart, I'm like, I don't want a job that's boring and that's going to suck my soul away. I remember I said this at a presentation, and the words that it just came out of my mouth. It was, I would rather be homeless and do what I love doing than work in a job that's making tons of money but hate the job. Like that's it. Like happiness, going back to happiness is not just money. Happiness is doing what feels right to you. So speaking and doing what I'm doing right now feels right to me. So that's why I appreciate doing that. Daisy, I want to go back to this. So I want to do what I want to do, but afraid of other people's judgment. So to, I guess, kind of conclude on this point is, if you're afraid of other people's judgment, honestly, courage and vulnerability and like just owning it, like that, it takes courage, right? It takes courage to do what you want and be judged and be okay with it. I don't know if you all know William Hung. He was like, world famous, absolutely world famous. He was on American Idol season 2? I don't remember, but really early on American Idol. And, he's the one who did the She Bangs, the Ricky Martin song. So my point in bringing this up is the whole entire world laughed at him. Like, who's this guy who thinks he could sing on American Idol? And he got famous because he was in my opinion, a pretty terrible singer, you know? And everyone was laughing at him. But the thing is, he felt in his heart that he's like, you know, I want to give this my best shot, and I did. So I'm not disappointed in myself. So I actually met William Hung about 1 or 2 weeks ago, you know, and I did a Facebook Live with him. You know, friends became, you know, a little bit of a friend with him. And what's really cool is, you know, back in the day, I laughed at William Hung. I'm like, that's funny. Like why would you even apply for American Idol? Like that's ridiculous. You know, you're clearly not the best singer. But William Hung did it because that's what he felt like he wanted to do, and he did it. His parents, he didn't tell his parents, because if his parents knew, they would have killed him. You know, like they would have freaking dragged him out of school, went there, take him out the auditions, like, no, you can't do that. But he did it anyway, and what happened? He became famous. You know, so the goal for him was not to be famous. He's a very humble guy, by the way. Like, just talking to him behind the scenes, I'm like, dude, like this guy's a really, you know, warm-hearted, kind person with, he does everything for the right reasons. So that's a great example. Like, that inspires me. I'm like, I would be so afraid to be judged by the whole entire world. Everyone know who I am and laugh at me, you know? Like, everywhere I walk around, people know, oh, hey, I'm that guy, William Hung, who everyone's kind of talking about, laughing about. But it's so cool to understand who he is on a deeper level, and more importantly, he doesn't care. He doesn't care what other people think about him. What he cares about is what he thinks about himself. He's like, he knows he did that for a reason. So hopefully that little story helps answer your question. All right. Okay. Cyberlow, let's see. The friendly neighborhood Asian boy. What's my opinion on NoFap? Are these? I can't tell if these are troll questions. You're borderlining it, man. Opinions on NoFap. What specifically about that? I'm curious about that. I'll give you whatever opinions I have on it. So, NoFap. If for those of you, I don't know how many people would not understand what that is, but NoFap is essentially, I know there's a Reddit thread for it, which is pretty much, you know, no porn/masturbation or whatever it is. My thoughts on NoFap, I think in general, I appreciate the movement of it. You know, I appreciate that there's people who are, you know, committing to not, I don't know the exact, all the specifics on it, but I know it's, what is it? No masturbation. I'm guessing that includes porn as well. I think, I don't know everything about the whole psychology, but from what what I've heard, and this is not super scientifically based, but from what I hear, porn is not, like, it's not a healthy habit, you know? And so in a way, I think for people who decide to do NoFap or whatever, it's like, it's, how do you say it? It's good. It's good to have, maintain good habits. So, I mean, that's my thoughts on it. All right. Johnny Leg, want to let you know that I, as a viewer, will never expect for you to give perfect answers. We are human after all. This channel is a great medium to share advice, philosophical ideas. Johnny, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. That's a good reminder. Gan is back. Hey, how could you get my question above? Hey, could you get my question above? I think you missed it. Okay, sorry about that. Hold on. I shall find you. Where are you? What do you do when you feel you have nothing to look forward to? What do you do when you feel you have nothing to look forward to? I would say what I do if I don't have anything to look forward to is, I don't know if this helps, but the initial thought is create something to look forward to. So if you don't have anything to look forward to and your life feels a little bit purposeless and meaningless, like, I don't know what to do with my life, like, what's the point? Create something. And I know that sounds crazy, like, okay, well, I don't know what to create. Like, what do I do? I don't feel like creating anything. Take some time and just sit with it and just feel like, think to yourself, what is something that would be fun for you to do? You know, what, it could be anything. It could be something that's actually, you know, world changing, meaningful, or it could be selfish. It doesn't matter. You know, it could be, you know what? I'm gonna go for a hike today. Or if you don't want to hike, you know, you could be like, I want to go on a trip. You know, I want to plan a solo trip. I don't know how old you are, by the way. So I want to plan a trip or a road trip, maybe with some friends. It doesn't even matter. Like, I don't really have super close friends that I would go on a road trip with. I don't know. Is there someone? Figure out something or make new friends. You know, whatever it is. Like, create. If there's nothing for you to look forward to, create something. Whew, goodness, I could relate with this a lot in terms of my life. So I'm going to preface again. I take care of my dad who has dementia. He depends on me a lot, like every single day, same questions every single day. So if you don't know about dementia, memory loss, poor reasoning, judgment, and just overall confusion, it's very hard for my dad to process and understand how to function in a normal life. He doesn't know, he's confused. He doesn't know what to do every single day. He's so bored at home. And the only way something happens is if I come up with the schedule for him. So, and it's very hard for me because I have my own life. But I also, you know, care for him. So I create some schedule for him. So for my dad, I realize what brings him hope is when he has something to look forward to. For example, I brought him to Arizona yesterday. And he was looking forward. He's like, oh, hey, when are we going to Arizona? When are we going to Arizona? So he was really excited. But if he didn't have on his mind that we're going somewhere, he's like, Richard, what are we doing? Like, what's you know, life is so sad, depressing, and I don't know what I'm doing. In my dad's case, he doesn't have the ability to create something practical to look forward to. You know, he depends on me. But in your case, I believe you are a normal functioning human being or have the capacity to plan and do something meaningful. So I recommend that's what you get to do. Alrighty, let's see. Johnny Leg, and I'd like to say thank you for what you are doing. You seem like a cool person, Richard. Johnny Leg, thank you very much. I appreciate that. You know, it's my pleasure. This is what brings life into me. Just being able to have these conversations. And again, like if you 7 people were not here having this conversation with me, I'd be sitting in my room wondering, man, I got nothing to look forward to. Like, what do I do? Like, seriously, this is I almost in a way created this Facebook Live because I just want to connect and share, and it brings life to me, you know. And again, Johnny Leg, as you said, and thank you for giving me permission to be my imperfect self. Because for me, there's an internal little mechanism in me that's like, Richard, you know, try to be perfect. You know, not like try to be perfect, like show off being perfect, but internally, there's a part of me that I'm always striving for that perfection, which I'm not promoting is a healthy way to live. It's just naturally what I do. And it's probably harmful in some ways. You know, I probably put this certain expectation that I'm not good enough. You know, I gotta keep doing stuff to get there. So here is a very raw thought that I have. Sometimes I think about, you know, I'm doing this work and I enjoy it. I'm super connected. I get to, you know, speak to hundreds of students, thousands of students every single year. I get to do Facebook Lives. I get to connect with people. But what happens when I get older and I got, you know, let's say my YouTube dies down, my speaking dies down, and I don't necessarily have anyone to connect with. That is a legit fear that I do have. It's the fear of being alone, and it's real. It's real. So I wonder what would my life be like if I were alone. You know, where let's just say I was irrelevant, like nobody really was listening to me, which I don't mind. You know, I'm not saying people gotta listen to me for the rest of for my life or their lives. I know at one point there are at least going to be moments where I have those feelings of like, you know, like there's going to be a point where I can be alone. What do I do? And in certain moments in the past, I have felt alone like that. And I'm like, man, you know, like my life is kind of miserable. Like I don't have super close friends and things like that. So I'm still working through that. And hold on, I got to go back to what was that? Oh, me doing what I'm doing. So for now, honestly, it's a little, there's a tie in between quick fix, as in quick fix of connection and things like that, and I'm still working on learning how to develop more long-term relationships and connection. And I believe in order for me to develop those long-term connections, I get to do two things. Number one is I get to build a better relationship with myself. I don't think my relationship with myself is the greatest. It really isn't. I think I don't love myself 100% all the time. I think I struggle with that, and I get to push myself and learn how to love myself more in that aspect. Number two is I gotta learn, I'm gonna go back to number one, building a better relationship with myself. The most important part that is triggering for me is I believe it's super important that we build a relationship with ourselves, because our relationship with ourselves is going to reflect our relationship with other people. And here's what I mean in my context. In my life, I have a lot of great friends, a lot of great connections, people that I could trust, people who trust me. But the thing is, in my life, like, I struggle with having really, really deep relationships where it's like, how do I say this? I could have super deep conversations with people, but relationships, like, I don't have those core, like a freaking romantic relationship where, I'm talking to someone every single day. They know all my deepest, darkest secrets, everything like that. That core where, like, I feel super connected, and, like, how do I say this? Like, my friends, I have friends all over. They all have their own lives, So I think I get to build a really deep relationship with myself where I'm, like, super, I don't know, connected, loving, caring, willing to go really deep with myself. And then I can bring that relationship with myself into a deep relationship with other friends, and romantic as well. So I don't know, that's what I have. Hopefully that supports. Yep. Dan, thanks a lot for the advice. You're welcome. Just curious, how long are you planning to do this live YouTube tonight? I'm curious. That was like, okay, so how long am I planning to do it? Honestly, I can't believe I've been doing it for 47 minutes. I didn't really plan to do these lives that long. So to answer your question, how long do I plan to do it? Honestly, whenever I'll be here if people are asking questions, but seeing the way things are going, it's somewhat, there's only one other question down here. So I don't know, 15 minutes, maybe? Unless if the conversation keeps going, there's like great questions and we keep going, then we'll see how it goes. So I'm gonna say maybe 5 to 15 minutes, something like that. Or maybe, we'll be done. It depends on what questions that y'all have. Johnny, like, have you ever crossed through an existential crisis? Let's see. I'm gonna look this up real quick. What exactly is it, existential crisis? I've heard about it. I have like a gist of it, but I want to like have a more solid definition of existential crisis. Okay. An existential crisis is a moment at which an individual questions the very foundations of their life, whether this life has any meaning, purpose, or value. It is commonly tied with depression and or a feeling of lack of purpose in life. Okay, cool. So however faced a moment where I always question, what is the meaning of life? What's the purpose, value? Oh my goodness. Do you watch Rick and Morty? Like, that show is hilarious. Like, I love that show. I've watched like every single episode. So Rick and Morty, it's funny because I know a bunch of young people who watch it. I feel like it's a very adult cartoon. It's like a lot of crude humor, but that show's hilarious. And what I love about Rick and Morty is it's a really witty, witty cartoon. It's crude, somewhat dark, twisted, but it talks a lot about existentialism. It talks about, what is the purpose of life? How Rick, who's the grandpa, smart scientist guy, like, sometimes he gets stuck in this moment of like, do I love my children, or should I feel emotions for my children or grandchildren, whatever it is. And Anyway, I love that show. If you haven't watched Rick and Morty, you gotta watch Rick and Morty. It's funny. I don't know. It's probably not for everyone, but I think a lot of people would enjoy it. It's great. So, do I ever get stuck in an existential crisis? Absolutely. I feel like we all kind of do. You know, or most of us do, unless I'm. The thought that just came to my mind was like people who are living in the middle of nowhere, and I don't know, like maybe some people's lives are so simple where they're like, you know, I just gotta make a living and this is what I do. I don't know. Nah, I have no idea. I'm not judging. Like literally, I feel like most people have an existential crisis. Like they think to themselves, what is the purpose of life? Like, why am I here? And you know what? I do believe there's a lot of people who don't go through that. People just go through the motions of life and they don't think about it. But if you can't tell, based off the fact that we've been here for 51 minutes, I obviously think and talk a lot. Like it's what I'm doing, verbalizing, is pretty much what goes in my mind all the time. I'm constantly thinking, and yes. So to answer your question or give you a little bit more feedback, wait a second, who's that? Was that Johnny Leg? Johnny Leg, okay. Johnny Leg. So what happened was, I remember in 2013, and this is not the only time I've ever had like an existential crisis, but in 2013, I was really kind of sad, depressed. I was, I remember I was working at Sony Pictures, renting out a room in a townhome, about like 1 mile down the street from Sony Pictures Studios, and my work was just super mundane. I went back home and I played video games all day, and I was just like, why am I here? Like, what is the purpose of my life? Like, you know, I feel like time is just passing by, and why am I here? So I remember one day I'm like, you know what? It was a Friday. I'm like, you know what? Tomorrow, Saturday, I'm gonna lock myself in my room, and literally I'm just gonna sit there. I'm gonna sit there until I figure out and give myself the full day to just think about what is the purpose of life. And it was a very long Saturday. You know, it was like my mind kept like spinning and getting distracted. I'm like, I don't know how to focus. Like, how do I know what the heck the purpose of life is? And what I came down to, for me, the purpose of life for everyone, and this isn't a perfect answer, but thankfully you're not wanting or needing perfect answers. The purpose of life for everyone, I believe, is to be authentically happy. That's my belief for everyone. Now, the question really is, what makes people authentically happy? For some people, that's going on vacations, having lots of money, having the boat, having the hot chick, you know, stuff like that. I mean, that's the more stereotypical stuff. So for some other people, being authentically happy is worshiping God, you know, preaching about Him, sharing that message. For some other people, it's giving back to the community. It's making Facebook Live videos. You know, it's doing charity work, whatever you want to call it, like world purpose, stuff like that. And then another group is maybe the purpose of life is just to feel connected. You know, what makes them authentically happy is being connected with people. And I think as human beings, we need connection. So that's what I think the purpose of life is. And by the way, I ask this question to people a lot. Hey, I do hesitate because I'm like, why do people not like to answer this question? Like, they hesitate, like, oh yeah, or like whenever they have like this reaction where it's like, either I've never thought about it, or I don't want to answer that question, which is, what is the purpose of life? I'm so curious. I always want to know, what do people think is the purpose of life? Because it's fascinating. I feel like that is the root. That is the root of why are we here? You know, like that's it. Like, don't you want to know what the purpose of life is, or something like that? Anyway, that's just my perspective. I'm pretty sure there's other great logical perspectives, and maybe you don't even need to know what the purpose of life is. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, let's see. Oh man, comments. We shall speed through these. Ish. I will answer your questions for sure there. For sure though. Susie H, can you share more things that you learn about building long-term relationships? Building long-term relationships. This is a funny question for me. building long-term relationships. So if we're talking romantic relationships, which I don't necessarily think you may not be talking about, I'm not the biggest expert on this for sure. I've been single for 9 years. But what I could say is, even though I've been single, I've been able to pick up on certain things about long-term relationships. So from what I've learned, and just because I've been single, it doesn't mean that I'm a complete idiot about long-term relationships. What I've learned is, in terms of if you want to build a long-term relationship, I think it's really important to be authentic, open, honest. Communication is huge. I believe if you want to build a long-term relationship, you gotta communicate. You gotta learn to open up, and sometimes when a relationship, romantic or friendship, whatever it is, they come into conflict, and there's a little bit of that awkward tension. People are like, man, I don't know, they don't know what to do with the situation. They're like, I don't know the answer to it. So then they kind of they both mutually agree, let's just brush it under the rug. Let's forget about this and let's start over. It's not a big deal. That little thing that you hide or you don't work on, you don't resolve, will become a big deal. So if you want to build a long-term relationship, be open. If you got those challenges, any of that, this feels a little bit off, address it, don't let those things slide, because if you start letting those little things slide, then you never resolve them. And then those little things will grow into bigger and bigger problems throughout your relationship. And ultimately, your relationship might end because you don't resolve those little problems. Little problems will add up. So that communication, trust, honesty, all that kind of good stuff. I think a relationship, one thing I heard about relationships is a relationship is not about what you can get out of a relationship. A relationship is about what you can give in the relationship. So I love this because it reminds me, if I ever go into a relationship, I'm not here to be a taker. I'm not here to be like, hey, you're pretty cute, and I'm going to selfishly be with you because I think you're super cute. I'm going to walk into a relationship like, hey, you're cute, but what can I give to you? Not physically, not out of neediness or insecurity, but what can I give to you because I have so much to give, So I think that's what a long-term relationship is. If you want a really solid long-term relationship, just focus on the other person. Focus on what can you do to give, not take. If you keep taking, then the relationship, I think, is going to kind of die off. Unless both of you are insecure people who need validation, then whatever. If you give and they're like, oh, thanks so much, you're so sweet, and they feel validated, I think that'll work short term, but in the long term, it will fall apart because there's a lot of problems that aren't being addressed. So those are my thoughts. Okay. Susie H. Also, any tips on public speaking? Public speaking. So my biggest tip, I can give you so many different tips. I can give you the practical tips, which you can find online from everyone. Just Google public speaking tips. My tip that's very, how do I say this? I feel like it's very not practical, quote unquote, not practical, is trust yourself and just go for it. What I mean by that is, in terms of public speaking, stop worrying about the words you're saying. Screw it. Forget the script. Drop the freaking script. Nobody cares about the words. People care about your tone, your intention. So drop the script and just, be yourself. And that's kind of what I've been working on myself. It's, how do I say it? I want to say it's not for everyone, but it kind of is for everyone. Some people like to have the, scripted, very beautiful flow. They know what they're going to say, which I respect. That's cool. I believe the best influencers, the best speakers are the ones who are just 100% authentic. So I would rather you focus on being authentic than being perfect. Another thing is, what is it? I can't, if you Google, maybe some of you already know this, percentage, I'm going to Google it, percentage, communication, nonverbal, there we go. Okay. Where is that? Okay, so I'm reading this right now. 93%. This is a very common thing about speaking. 93% of communication is nonverbal. So that means only 7% of the communication is verbal. That means the words that you're saying, that's 7%. 93% is nonverbal, meaning body language, tone of voice, it can be eye contact, all that kind of stuff. So all of that, so that's why I think intention is more important than the actual words that you use. Although the words are still important for sure. Okay. Tea and Cream, good to see you on again. Let's see, Johnny Leg, the Rick and Morty identifies a lot of the basics of existentialism, yet add a bit of humor to it. Yes, just being, since your video titles is what makes you happy. For me, movies makes me happy. What's your favorite movie? Also, any movies you recommend? Goodness, favorite movies. I'm gonna go to IMDb because I have like a list. Goodness, I'm so bad at like remembering, like, what are my favorite movies. I just always forget. Dude, this YouTube live stream is like, it's super long. Whatever, that's cool. Hey, as long as you all are enjoying it, I'm down to just hang out and chat. Favorite movies, goodness. Here, you know what? I can't say these aren't my all-time favorite movies, but movies that I enjoy. For comedy, 21 Jump Street. For kind of like it's not my favorite movie, but I really like how the movie Now You See Me. I just love how that whole movie was put together. Like, I felt like it was clever. It like tied in the actual audience. So Now You See Me is about magicians who kind of create like a huge magic show, and I don't even remember what they try to steal or whatever. Like, did they steal money like in a vault halfway across the world? But I really like how they like the storyline comes together. The whatchamacallit, whatever, they just did a really good job putting everything together. I am into more, I'm gonna say, I guess like dramas, real life stuff that could relate with human emotions and stuff like that. So that's what I have. There's too many. I'm sorry, I'm just not good with remembering favorite things, like favorite songs, favorite music, favorite stuff like that. So I'll have to like go back and think about that. One of my favorite quotes that sums up the entire message that the Rick and Morty series spins around is nothing matters. Nobody belongs everywhere. Everybody's going to die. Let's watch TV. I love that. Yeah, I remember that. Goodness, Rick and Morty. Johnny Leg. And to answer that question about the purpose of life, I like to think that the concept of I like to think that the concept of meaning or purpose is man-made. Same goes with the concepts of good or bad. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, absolutely. It's the concepts of meaning or purpose is man-made. So is good and bad. Yes, these are all a part of our minds. Oh goodness, this is getting deep. Johnny Leg, this is getting deep. Like, we're tapping into how do you say this? Now we're getting deep into like this whole, what is the purpose of life? Now we're talking about all our thoughts are just made up. Language is made up. We use language to communicate our thoughts, and even language is not 100%. Like, language, I can only express to you a limited amount of what's actually going on in my mind. And then Johnny, in our conversation, like, what's in our mind is also just made up anyway. So why am I here? Johnny, why am I here? Why are we here? Like, what is the purpose of life? Like, I don't know. Now I'm comparing myself with animals. How about animals who don't have this high functionality that we do as human beings? Are they happy? Like, no, I feel like whales are intelligent creatures, but I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna go with a lion. I'm not saying they're not intelligent, but like, are lions happy? Do they get depressed? Like, do they get sad? Are they happier than human beings? Like, I have no idea. These are great questions. And would it be better? Would we be more happy if we weren't so complicated creatures? If we didn't have so many emotions and technology and all these things? I have no idea. These are great questions. Let's see. I saw the movies you mentioned. Awesome. Danny, The Flash is a nice series. I haven't seen it. That sounds awesome. All right. That's kind of how I crossed through my existential crisis. I came across it. I just started to enjoy the meaninglessness of life. I do have a lot of conversations with. I have a lot of different groups of friends. I have my main group of friends right now, or the ones I associate with mentally, choose to associate with, are the ones who are very, vision and world impact focus. They're very conscious and all that kind of stuff. Is that the right way to live? Not necessarily. It's just the one that it's the path that I'm on. I also have friends who, they work 9 to 5 jobs. They just go through the motions of life. And I appreciate their perspective because it's not wrong. It's just they choose to believe that, life is, you're just enjoying the meaninglessness of it. It's like enjoying the moments. You go to work, maybe you don't fully love your work, but at least that will pay the bills so you can go enjoy yourself and whatever, vacation and just do other exciting things. Eat, go to nice restaurants, whatever. And all of these are very possible scenarios. So there we go. Woo woo. All right. You thought the existential crisis was just depression at first. Yeah. So, all right. So I think this is a great place to kind of wrap up or wind down, and then we'll wrap up very soon. So, let's see. The conversation started with a little bit around the conversation about happiness, and then we dove into, what is the purpose of life? That's up to everyone's interpretation. It's crazy. These thoughts, again, for me, it's feeling authentically happy is my purpose of life, and I think everyone's. But maybe there is no purpose of life. Maybe it's just being happy. I think that's purpose. I think everyone should try to be authentically happy, and So that's what I got. All right. Sorry for taking to such a deep topic. No, that's cool. I live for this kind of stuff. It stretches my mind. I like being challenged and going places where even I'm uncomfortable, because that's where my mind could start thinking outside the box. Just being this might be out of topic, but how old are you? I'm 28. It's kind of an Asian thing to ask that. Nice. Yeah, I'm 28. 28 and relevant, irrelevant. And I say that because I don't know, man, we're diving into more very deep level mindset thinking, analytical stuff. But when people ask me, how old are you, Richard? I get it. You're just curious. You kind of look like you're 24 or something, or maybe you might think I'm 32, whatever it is, or maybe you think I'm 28 or 17 or something. But for me, there's a little bit of a trigger when people ask me, hey, how old are you? My question when people ask me how old are you is, why exactly are you asking me? And then if I tell you how old I am, how does that influence the way you look at me? Not from I feel so self-conscious standpoint, but from a, does that change the way you perceive me in general? It's how do I say this? I guess in a way, I have my own perspective of what being 28 means to me. For me, being 28 is kind of just a number. I know that sounds cliche, but being 28 is kind of just a number, meaning, yes, age for me, I'm continuing to get older and older and older and older, and I realize time does pass by more and more. I'm still very young. I think 28 is considered young, but of course, I feel a little bit older, as we all do. As we age, we feel a little bit older. Mindset wise, I like to stay young. I appreciate being around a lot of middle school, high school students, because that helps me. It helps keep me grounded, knowing kind of almost want to say what the purpose of life is, in the sense that children or younger people, teens, like there's more of a free spirit within them. You know, like that child spirit. I think when we grow up, we should not be adults. We should be like child in adult bodies, or child adults, whatever it is. You know, I think we should always keep that youthful spirit, because it's a spirit of curiosity. It's a spirit of openness, and I almost want to say a little bit of freedom, or just pureness in a way. But as adults, when we get older, cool, keep the wisdom. But I think adults kind of begin to get stuck. I don't want to say everyone, but you know, a lot of adults get stuck in a certain way, into their comfort zone, into what works for them. So that's what I have. I want to continue to stay mentally young, and I'm glad I get to hang out with middle school, high school students, because that helps. But at the same time, I feel like I am mentally getting a little bit older. But you know, it is what it is. I agree. The meaning of life is subjective and varies between person to person. Yeah, I agree completely. Awesome. Cool. So, thanks for hopping on again. Just being Teen Cream and Johnny, same goes to you. Yeah, I will definitely, you know, I appreciate you hopping on, and I will definitely do more Facebook Lives, YouTube Lives coming up. And yeah, you know, I don't have a set schedule. Maybe I'll do one tomorrow evening. I will aim for tomorrow evening. I don't have the exact time. Maybe I'll just tentatively say 8 or 9 p.m., something like that. Tentatively, you know, I don't want to make a straight up promise yet. But as I establish kind of a routine, whatever, a flow, maybe I'll have an actual set time, so you know exactly when I do it. But when I say 8 to 9 p.m., that's Pacific Standard Time, LA time. Thank you. You enjoy your weekend too, Just Being. All right, cool. I think that's pretty good. Thanks for hanging out with me, you know, tonight. And it's always fun. I appreciate conversations. Goodness. I guess my food for thought, or my little thought that I want to leave you with right now, is YouTube Lives and connecting, you know, on this platform is great. You know, I definitely do enjoy connecting with you. What I would like to encourage you to do is go out there and, I don't know, meet up with someone that you haven't hung out with in a while, you know, or just hang out in person with someone that you get to catch up with or have a great conversation with. I think YouTube Live, or the internet technology, is a great way to connect, but there's nothing like being in front of a person live and having a real human conversation. Sometimes, I don't know, sometimes it seems like it can get weird because we're so used to technology in our 2017 life. But yeah, do that. Grab some coffee, I don't know, go for a walk, whatever it is that you want to do. Just think about someone that you get to connect with and just invite them to hang out in person. All right? Cool. That's my little request and thought. If you plan on doing it, you know, I'd love to hear about it. Awesome. And Johnny, hope you don't think I'm a psycho now. Why? I don't know you would think I would think you're a psycho. I still value emotion and the humanities. My favorite part of that quote was, let's watch TV, since it acknowledges our human side, which is crucial. I like that. That's really cool. You analyze that on a deeper level than I did, which I totally appreciate. And goodness, Rick and Morty, that's a good show. All right, cool. Thanks so much for hopping on. And I look forward to all of us, you know, developing things to look forward to. You know, I look forward to all of us creating a meaningful life. Hopefully that is a good thing to work towards, a meaningful life, something that feels good. And I'm cheating a little bit. I know I said my one thing was to have you hang out with someone in real life. My second thing is going to be, I want you to take a little bit of time to think about what is a project or something you can do that you can look forward to. So thank you. Was that Dan who asked that question? I'm sorry, I forgot who asked that question. But think about something that you could look forward to creating that you're not doing already. Or maybe you could just continue whatever your thought is. Yeah. It could be a trip. It could be career related. It could be whatever it is. Owning a house or starting a business, like whatever it is. So take some time to think about that, all right? Cool. Thanks again for hopping on. I'll catch you all a little bit later. Bye.